I think anyone who is out there doing their own thing, at the end of the day, it's so important to stay true to what you want to do and to have that vision. And you really do have to believe in yourself before anyone else does. No matter what career you do, there's always going to be those ebbs and flows. You're working, you're putting all that time in, and then you get the payoff later. So that's something I always try to keep in mind too.
Welcome to Marketing Happy Hour, a weekly podcast helping marketing professionals and entrepreneurs build better strategies and hit career goals. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Allie. We're marketers and your hosts through these unfiltered convos with your peers and experts in the space.
Let's dive in. Grab your favorite drink and let's get to this week's episode. Today, we have Emma Sheehy with us to talk all things freelance work, creativity, content creation, etc. Very excited to dive into this conversation. Emma, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you. You were an introduction from Allie, so just very excited. It's so fun just having both of us being able to bring these awesome connections to the table and for me to just meet people in her orbit and vice versa. So it's very fun and just excited to get to know your story. But if you don't mind, of course, we'd love to know what's been in your glass lately.
Yeah, absolutely. So I usually have like a lot of different liquids going on. I'll have sometimes an iced vanilla latte if it's not absolutely freezing out. And then I always have tea on rotation. So I have like quite a mug collection, and whenever I travel, I get different mugs. But I'm pretty much always drinking Earl Grey tea from October to like April.
Love.
Ooh. I love an Earl Grey tea personally. I haven't had it in a while. I also have coffee, but me too. That's my thing. When I go to a different city, I'll try to get like the Starbucks been there mugs or whatever, just to look back and remember everywhere I've been. So I love that so much. Also too, as we dive in, if you don't mind, would love to hear your story a little bit. You know, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am based in the New York City area. I'm in Jersey City, which is pretty much Brooklyn on one side, and then Jersey City is right on the other. So it's in New Jersey, but it's very close to New York City. But I'm originally from the DC area, so grew up in DC. Very much all my friends, parents, everybody worked in government jobs. And for me, I kind of knew that I wanted to do something a bit more creative. So I went to Bucknell University, which is smack dab in the center of Pennsylvania. And going to Bucknell, just it felt like was pretty much from somewhere New York City related. But my roommate was from the city. We had people from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all over. I was kind of a little bit different, honestly, being from Virginia. So it was kind of right across the river from DC, and moved to New York. So excited to start in the media world. I think just watching a lot of those 2000s movies, I was like, I'm going to work in a magazine. That's what I'm going to do. And while I was at Bucknell, I had a daily blog, which was great. It was just a great opportunity to be creative, whether it was someone that I had a class with who had an interesting internship, I would interview them. Or if there was someone who had a really awesome outfit, I would do like photo shoots with like the number balloons for my blog anniversary. So it was like really, really fun. I really enjoyed doing that. I actually did freshman year, I did this Valentine's Day photo shoot on my dorm had access to a roof and there was snow. And so I got people out there and was like photographing them. But really loved doing that. Moved to New York and got pretty lucky. This was in 2017. So I got a job pretty quickly, especially by today's standards, moving there, and started working as an executive assistant in TV news. So as you can imagine, doing everything from wardrobe to running errands around the city to checking people in who were guests, got to go behind the scenes at The View and like put the books under the seats for, the audience members. And that I think really set me up. And I think being an assistant, especially in that kind of capacity, it's going to set you up for any career because you become so detail oriented. You're 22, but so much is resting on your shoulders. I traveled, I had to be so organized with everything. So I think that was really great. But for me, I didn't see that long term, as a lot of people then become, they wanted to be anchors or producers. And that just wasn't really the world that I saw myself living in 24/7. So I got a job at The Knot, which most people know, like Zola and The Knot. And, you make a Zola registry or a Knot registry that's connected to your wedding website, but it's under Amazon. And this was in 2019. And The Knot wanted to have everything in-house. So kind of I was the first hire in this team. And it was kind of an experience of almost like entrepreneurship because, I'm gathering samples and I'm helping with the photo shoots, but then also doing the merchandising. And so really got that kind of experience. And then obviously when everything happened in 2020 was fully remote for years and years. I have not been in an office 5 days a week since COVID, which is really crazy because I used to go in, I was 8 to 6 in an office when I was working in my first job. And throughout that time was kind of looking at creative entrepreneurship more and more of like things that I wanted to do that I really enjoyed. And unfortunately, like many people, was affected by layoffs and kind of saw that as an opportunity to start doing a lot more freelance content and started doing photography more. And then that kind of branched out into day of wedding content creation. And actually now I'm kind of starting to work. I've been on some calls this week. I'm starting to work with some boutique hotels to do work for them, which would be such a dream to be able to travel and document for work, which I'm very excited about. So I really saw that as kind of an opportunity. And then in addition to that, there's a brand company called Expand VA, which is run by corporate Natalie, the influencer. And I reached out to her and got paired up with an influencer that I work for, and I get to work on all their back end deals and help with editing and, any events that they're putting on, like they're doing a big brunch next month. So I get to work on that. So it's been really nice to kind of see different sides of the industry, both as someone that really enjoys making content and also works for someone who does it as like their full-time job. So that's kind of an intro to me.
Yeah, Emma, thank you so much for sharing. I think one thing that struck me about you when you and I had our first kind of initial conversation is that you have such broad digital marketing experience. And I think what I love about that is you're able to flex into all of these different areas and kind of make yourself a very well-rounded digital marketer. And so I'm curious to hear from you, what kind of keeps you in the digital marketing space and what kind of pulled you into it? Obviously, as your career grows, what keeps you going and keeps you excited about the space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so exciting just because so much is changing constantly. And I think like, for me, I'm kind of a zillennial. So I very much, and it's honestly kind of convenient because, millennial people do something really cringy. I'm like, oh my God. And then if like Gen Z is doing something ridiculous, I'm like, oh my gosh. So you kind of get like one foot in. But I think what's kind of keeps me so excited is just because being a creative person who doesn't have traditional art skills, it's such an opportunity to be able to show your portfolio, show your editing skills, being able to show your creative eye. And that's why I always say like Instagram is, I've said this before to friends, I've been in, and they find it crazy because all my friends pretty much work in some sort of DC job. So, which I can never fully understand when they explain it to me. But I've told them I've been in interviews. I've never once been asked my GPA. I've literally had people ask my Instagram and pull it up in front of me in the interviews. So it's so important to have a portfolio to show what you can offer for brands or for people that want to hire assistants or creators. Like you have to have something. I remember there was this influencer and she was talking about how people ask, how do I get your job? And it's like, well, what do you want to do and what steps are you taking towards that? Like you have to have something to show. If you want to work in the wedding space, like you have to shoot photos and you have to show what you can provide and all of that, it's so essential. And it's so exciting too, because it has changed so much. I started on Instagram in 2010. So even back then I saw this opportunity to have this creative outlet. I love doing TikTok now. And, that's something that is it's so important to be so quick and fast with it because especially I think big companies are realizing that if you wait 3-4 weeks for this whole process to play out, it's over. Like you missed the bus there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious from you just to know, like, what does being a self-starter look like for you? And can you share a moment where that mattered?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to be a little bit woo-woo right now. I'm an Aries. I'm a Enneagram 3, and I'm the oldest, only granddaughter on both sides of my family. So, like, there's a part of it that's just naturally you're inclined to take control and take action. My younger brother, I have 2 younger brothers, my middle brother we went on this trip and he had everything organized. And I was like, wow, I'm appreciating it because normally it's my mom and I that are doing everything. I think, especially in this space, I've kind of realized, my parents had very traditional jobs and they worked literally the same jobs, same office for 30 years. It definitely changed over time, but it was like the same job, doing the same thing, same company. And I've kind of realized, okay, my path is going to look very different. And especially if you want to do anything creative, it's just not going to be that traditional here's what you do. I mean, my boyfriend's a lawyer. It's a very different, it's like everything's kind of, for the most part, laid out. You do this, you take the bar, you do this. And so I think a big part of that is you got to see people doing what you want to do. And rather than getting frustrated or being like, oh, why isn't that me? You have to see it as like, okay, here's what they're doing and this is working for them. Maybe I should try something similar. So kind of seeing it as inspiration. And I think the big thing is just starting and making it look pretty later. It's so much more important to just start. So like for photography, I was doing so many things for free when I started out. I would literally like put on Craigslist and all these different like next door, hey, I'm a photographer, would you like a free photo shoot? Which like normally I would charge a lot now, a lot more now for that. And just going and doing that and being willing to put in the free work and being willing to do a lot of it requires passion for a reason, because I think it's the barrier to entry for these cool jobs. So when people are then getting flown out for really awesome opportunities, like there's a reason for it, because you have to be willing. And there's a reason why not everyone can do it, because not everyone wants to work for free. Not everyone wants to put in years of work into something, not seeing a lot of return on it. And so I think to kind of go back to it, being a self-starter, I've always really, really loved entrepreneurship as a kid. That was what I always did. I had lemonade stands and little businesses, and it was just always something that was so important. But I also think too, I was listening to a podcast and they were saying, there was like a stat, so I had to look it up to like clarify it, but 50% of the workforce is going to be freelance in the next couple of years. That is a crazy, crazy statistic. And so it's something that I'm, even though it's a lot of trials and figuring out what works and a lot of rejection, I kind of am thinking, okay, I'd rather be doing that now at this time in my life than like work a job that's for 10 years, get laid off or have something happen and then have to like figure something out later. So that's kind of what I'm telling myself as, there's definitely stressful days, but that you put the work in now, and hopefully that's going to be something that as I get older and hopefully have kids, I can be able to kind of keep both of those things in tandem, because I've always wanted to work for myself at the end of the day.
Before we get back to the episode, we wanted to take a moment to tell you about our latest offering for marketing professionals.
We get asked all the time where marketers can actually connect outside the podcast.
So we built it, the MHH Collective.
Monthly live sessions with us and industry experts, real career conversations in a Slack space that's actually helpful and not noisy.
If you want to learn with people, not just listen, we'd love to have you.
If you want to join us, you can find the link in the show notes below.
I hear you. And I think it's a good litmus test, I think, just for this audience listening, that all three of us on this call right now are all freelancers in some capacity. So like it is true. That is where a lot of the workforce is moving, especially as we all kind of like specialize in these specific niches and things like that. And I think, Emma, share with the audience kind of where you draw inspiration from for content specifically, right? Because you're creating all of this different kind of content for different industries, et cetera. Is it like inside, outside your industry? Is it both? I think there's, I'm curious to hear what the overlap looks like for you.
A lot of time on my phone, a lot of time researching. I'm always looking at Pinterest. I'm always looking at Instagram for ideas. I really do love just looking at beautiful things. But I get a lot of inspo from girls my age that live in the city that post about their life. I've always loved blogs. I've been reading blogs for like 15 years. So a lot of it is just kind of gravitating towards people that I love their aesthetics. I might have been one of the few people that watched every single episode of the Meghan Markle show. So it's really, I think, curating who you follow and thinking about, okay, are these people like giving me inspo and ideas, or is this stuff that annoys me or whatever? And, you can block people that maybe aren't adding to that cup. But it's just looking at Pinterest. Pinterest is something that I really, really love. Saving a lot of videos. If there's something that I really love and I want to take inspo from or do my own version and, credit that person, or an audio that I really want to save. But TikTok, I've never laughed harder. I truly have never laughed harder online than just like watching TikToks of just very funny people. And it's a great way to get your mind off of things. But I would say I have a few people that I really, really I will watch every single thing that they post, and I really love it. But also just I take a lot, especially in the winter, I take baths, and I try to just like not be on my phone or do anything. And that's where a lot of really, I would say, some of my best ideas have come to me.
Yeah, it's so important, especially for us who are just very digitally connected, like unplugging and just giving ourselves time to not only just have a moment to relax, but think clearly and just think openly. I think that's so important and something I'm also trying to implement more into my life.
I definitely, if you have not read it, and granted, this is very much the one I just love, and I'm sure you guys know, but the Ina Garten memoir, if you haven't read that, it is so good. Especially, I really recommend listening to the audiobook because she narrates it. I've had 4 or 5 people in my life say, "Hey, I read the Ina Garten memoir. You should. I feel like you would really, really like resonate with it and love it because her whole thing is really just. Did you guys have gotten a chance to read it yet?
No, but I'm adding that to my list for sure.
Yeah, but I love her. She's lovely.
Yeah, she's so lovely, and her whole story is really just she was curious about something, she kind of went into it and just kind of took the leap and didn't have an idea of how this was going to pan out into this. And granted, I think she has like lucky girl syndrome on max because everything works out for her. Like truly, she had to one of the stories is she had a 70 renovation she was doing on the store, and she thought it was going to be $75,000. It was going to be $100,000 or $150,000. So she got approved for the 75. Her whole thing is just at the very end of the book, she talks about how just the trials and tribulations and really hard stuff in her life, how she's so grateful for it. And I think anyone who is out there doing their own thing where you might have family that's like, hey, what's going on? Or it's really hard to explain what you do, especially, oh my God, especially to like older, grandparents and stuff. It's like, oh, what is this like thing? And it's like, it's so hard to even explain and they think you're crazy. But at the end of the day, it's so important to stay true to what you want to do and to have that vision. And you really do have to believe in yourself before anyone else does.
Yeah, we were literally having this conversation yesterday with someone close to us, and just that nudge, like that thing where you're like, okay, I keep getting pulled back into this. I keep feeling like this is the direction I need to go in. I think listening to that nudge, even if it's like a side project or just something, a creative outlet that you want to do, I think if you keep getting that nudge, it's there for a reason, and chase that and chase it wholeheartedly. And I think at the end of the day, if it does get hard, you will eventually get rewarded for that because that's what you're supposed to be doing. So, yeah, could not agree more. It's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about just having that vision. And there's, no matter what career you do, there's always going to be those ebbs and flows. Like I think about my boyfriend Luke studying for the bar exam. It's like, oh my God, I'm so glad this is you and not me right now. And you have to have that belief of like, he knew that's what he wanted to do. And, you make sacrifices for years. You're working, you're putting all that time in, and then you get the payoff later. So that's something I always try to keep in mind too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Going back to social as well, obviously there's so many different trends popping up all the time. So how do you personally stay ahead of trends without burning out in that constant scrolling? I know you mentioned just having all of these places that you're tapping into, getting inspiration, etc. But then how do you take that and say, okay, these are kind of the different things that I actually want to test. I'm excited about these trends. What does that process look like for you?
Yeah. I think the nice thing about most trends for the most part is they're not videos that you have to spend a ton of time editing, and a lot of it's voiceover, or it's like things that you can kind of bust out pretty quickly. So that definitely helps. If it was, stuff where it needed all of this, you needed to travel to this spot and do this and all that, I think that would be kind of tough. For certain things that do require being in a certain place, I try to keep a notes app on my phone of like, hey, the next time you're doing this, if it's something that's like a more evergreen versus like a super trendy thing. But I think it's just, especially with TikTok, it's just about getting it out as soon as you can. And if it only takes 5 minutes, like getting it done and just doing it in 5 minutes, and not overthinking it too much, because you never really know. For example, this wasn't so much a trend, but an example of, I think I kind of might have overthought it a bit too much. I was so lucky that Luke and I were selected to be confetti throwers at New Year's this year at Times Square, which was like one of the highlights of my life. It was so cool. Kind of an example of being a bit of a curious person, self-starter. I saw this video, didn't know how to apply. This was last year. Found the guy's email who runs it, and emailed him and was able to get in. And I still don't really know how we got in because most of the people there do it every single year, and there's obviously a lot of interest. But I should have posted the video on, I did this really like edited video, and I should have posted it on January 1st and I posted on January 3rd. And not saying that this totally would have been a different outcome, but my video that was like pretty edited and I thought was pretty nice got 300,000 views and like 40,000 likes. The video that and I remember seeing this girl before when we were all as a group, that was just one clip of her doing the confetti that she posted on New Year's Eve or like right after when we got back, got 100 million views and 12 million likes. It's like, okay. I'm not saying that would have been my fate, but just an example of sometimes you just have to be on top of things.
No, it's a great point. And Emma, I've seen the video you did post. It was beautiful. You did a wonderful job. I do think that's a really good lesson, though. I think we tend to either overthink or feel maybe inconfident about, what it is that we're putting out there. And there is so much beauty in the sort of authenticity of capitalizing on a moment in time or, specifically a cultural moment like New Year's Eve. But it's so cool that you had that opportunity.
It was really cool. And it's just one of those things where just like one of those New York moments that makes everything worth it very much. I did want to say also too, like, I think kind of in relation to that, sometimes you just have to jump off the deep end and trust that things are going to work out. And I was kind of it just kind of reminded me of something else where I was doing photographs for couples and engagements and proposals, which proposals still to this day are very stressful because you have to kind of be hidden. But I got asked by a family friend to do their wedding. And granted, I had not shot a wedding. I had not been in a wedding where I kind of knew the day-to-day of what it was going to look like. I had not assisted someone at that point, and I did not have an assistant. So it was me, my 2 cameras, and a prayer. And it came out great, and it was awesome, but that was one of those examples of sometimes you just got to go for it and trust that it's going to work out, because shout out to Marissa and RJ. They are wonderful. They like the pictures. So everything worked out. I've never been more stressed in my life. And my mom was a guest because it was a family friend at the wedding. And she said, "You did a great job, but as your mom, I could tell you were very stressed." And I was like, yeah, I was pretty much 12 hours straight, just go, go, go. But it was just kind of that funny moment of sometimes you just have to go for it.
No, for sure. And I think stress can be also a good motivator in that sense. I think we often see stress as in a very negative way. And I do think there is some good stress in a lot of that. Right, it was challenging you, it was stretching you to try something new. So I do think, in some respects it can be a positive.
You want it to go well. And
For sure.
It's like that at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's just caring about the work that you're doing and wanting to do a good job. And I remember saying to my mom, I could bust my ankle today. I don't care. I just want everything to go well.
Totally. As we round out the conversation, Emma, I'm curious to hear from you. What brands do you think are doing a really good job in digital right now, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of been thinking about brands that I just really love following. I don't follow a ton of brands, to be honest, in terms of I'll look at their pages and stuff, but I don't follow on my personal Instagram a ton, just because honestly, even just with my friends and stuff, it feels like I'm on Instagram so much. I happen to be holding one of the products, which is funny. I'm a big fan of Rode. I will say, I think they've done a great job with their digital. They just had that influencer trip, which looked insane. It was in Montana, and they were launching a new product. And so everything, I don't know if you guys saw it, but everything was mint green, and they had these beautiful setups, by the slopes, and they had this beautiful hotel, and just, it looked amazing. I've only tried 2 Rode products. This is my pitch to Rode if they ever want to send me PR for anything. But their peptide, this one's the raspberry jelly, and their blush is so good. I use their blush every day. I don't use any other blush.
I do too. I'm obsessed with the blush. I have 6 of them.
Yeah, and people that I've worked with, they're like, "Where is this blush?" And you gotta do the Rode blush. It's so worth it. It's great. And then, ironically enough, one of their competitors, Rare Beauty, I also think does a great job. Their CMO just left after several years with the brand, but she was doing these TikTok videos about marketing, and she's been in the game for 25 years. So she has so much just experience and things to say, and I really love following her. And I just think I love how with Rare Beauty, each line has a different color. So when they did the comfort one, it was that mauve color, and the brand trips are so well done. And there was one that they just did, I think it was last year. They went up the Hudson Valley and stayed at Wildflower, which is just it should be on everyone's bucket list. It looks insane. and they had like their own rooms, like their own individual like hut things, and everything was just so. And they had an event at the Phuket, which is a hotel in New York that has a similar color palette, and just everything was so well done. And I love that they have their mission statement so proudly and talking about mental health. And I just think everything that they post is just so well thought out.
Yeah. Yeah. Big fan of both brands. I personally haven't tried anything from Rhode yet. I'm telling myself once I ironically run out of Rare Beauty blush, I will try Rhode, and just to give it a dabble, but I love Rare Beauty's blush too. So yeah, they're both doing great jobs and great jobs online too. So, Emma, this has been so wonderful and such an encouraging conversation of just like chasing those instincts, trying things. I very much resonate with that. And that's one thing I talk about all the time that has, I think, kind of like built my career, is just saying yes to crazy things. And a lot of times some of it doesn't make sense in the moment, but later you look back and realize like, oh, I'm glad I had that experience. And that was such a wonderful time in my life. And now being able to speak to that is really awesome. So thank you for sharing your journey. Would love to know though, as we close out, where can we connect with you, learn more about you, and just follow you online?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. I've listened to a million podcasts, like hours and hours and hours of podcasts, and never gotten to be a guest. So this is very exciting. So I'm just Emma Sheehy on Instagram, just all one. And then on TikTok, I'm Emma_Sheehy. So I've been trying to post pretty consistently on both. I also I love doing stories, and that's just such a fun creative thing that you don't have to overthink too much, and it's really fun. So I do post a lot on stories, but it's always good. And then I'm just Emma Sheehy for my website, and that has links to everything. And then Emma Sheehy Photography on my website and my Instagram. And then if you really can't get enough, Emma's Plants and Flowers, all just one, which is where I just post pretty flowers. It's something that I really love. I love flowers out in the wild. I love beautiful arrangements. I like doing my own arrangements. So I just kind of post things on there. So I'm not bombarding people on the other two accounts. But
I love that.
Kind of where to find me. It's mostly just Emma Sheehy, but emmasheehy.com has links to everything.
Oh, I love it so much. Emma, thank you again so much for sharing. Really appreciate it, and just excited to see what you continue to build and grow in the future, and what cool opportunities that you say yes to.
Thanks. Thank you guys so much. This was so awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Marketing Happy Hour.
If you enjoyed it, make sure you're subscribed to the show and sign up for our weekly newsletter with insights and marketing resources.
We also invite you to check out the MHH Collective, our community for marketers looking to connect, grow, and learn together.
Check out the links in the show notes. We'll see you next time.